Yo, what is up everyone? Back here with another video. Jeez, it's been a while since our last video. Mostly honestly because we've been traveling a lot. You know, I came from a USC, then did a couple videos, and then Indianapolis. Also too, just been busy with like IRL stuff, you know. But finally we're back here. I didn't want to leave the YouTube channel like super active because like this is, you know, YouTube is actually probably my favorite place to post stuff besides Patreon and you know, coaching, because coaching is something I do a lot more now. But yeah, no, I'm really excited to talk to you guys about the team that I used to get 13th place in Indianapolis. Obviously, I did not win, which is a little bit sad, and I would have liked to take it farther. However, I'm still pretty proud of how I played with the team and everything, especially with how it started. But pretty much, to be honest with you guys, it's more or less the same exact like team as you know, the EUIC team, except that the main thing I changed was Gastrodon over P2. And that might just seem like a minor change to you guys, but that actually made like such a huge difference because it made my Zacian Ogre matchups way easier. So pretty much the main idea with this team was I wanted to take the team, improve the matchups that were not as good, so in this case Zacian Ogre, right? And have a really good option to kind of improve that matchup. And Gastrodon did its job. Every Zacian Ogre I played versus, I felt really confident versus because I had Gastrodon, and even when I didn't bring it, Gastrodon still felt like it was pretty useful. So overall, didn't have like too much trouble with Gastro being added, right? Like there were no matches where like I was like, oh, me not having P2 is like actively hurting me. If anything, I think I actually played the team better because I didn't have Porygon 2 on it, because sometimes you're used to like just hitting the trick room button, even when it's not like the most optimal. So, you know, it ended up being okay. Excuse me. Oh my god. I hate yawning. While I'm on stream. But yeah, if you guys, you know, obviously enjoy the content, please feel free to support me on Patreon. I would extra appreciate it. Also, too, you know, I post all the teams that I use in tournaments on there. They're full pace. And also make sure to check out coaching if you guys would like to improve your skills. Been working with a lot of you guys, and it's been honestly a genuine pleasure to just like work with people. So pretty much just to give you guys a rundown on the team, for the most part, it is the same team. The only difference is that Gastrodon does have you know, Gastrodon is on the team. It's running the standard Ice Beam, Earth Power, Yawn, and Protect set. Gastrodon was basically just to help with Zacian Ogre more, and it just helped with some other general matchups a bit more, so it's pretty useful. The Gastrodon, so like Gastrodon gave me an extra lead because normally I would lead Porygon and Ensign, but now like Gastro Ensign is like the more default like defensive lead, because you can just kind of like intimidate, you know, protect Gastro Parting Shot, or you can Yawn Parting Shot. Like you have a lot of options there. Even Fake Out Yawn, you know. So that's like a pretty decent option there. So kind of have a lot of different options there, which is nice. You can kind of hard swap out Ensign. You could protect. You know, you could do a lot there. So overall, I'd say Gastrodon kind of contributes a lot to this team. Having that extra Yawn pressure for consistent sleep along Venusaur is really nice, because obviously Venusaur is a bit more of a volatile option, but Gastrodon kind of gives you the consistency you need to like consistently land your moves. So then, obviously for the other common pairs, Regieleki Venusaur, which is used a lot into Rinja Sun, which actually I only played once this tournament, so kind of hints to it falling off a little bit, I think. And then Regieleki Yveltal, which I did use a couple times in tournament. Or I did use a lot in the tournament, actually, and like it's just a really good lead. Yveltal Regieleki is like great at exerting pressure. So overall, I'd say it was a pretty solid, you know, change or adjustment for the team. And we'll get into the matches, and I'll kind of, I guess, talk about where it ended up coming into play a bit more versus not. But yeah, so that's pretty much it for the actual team composition itself. Didn't want to spend too much time on this because, I mean, right, like, there's not too much different. So now we can get to the tournament run itself. Okay, so pretty much this tournament was actually a pretty brutal one, because if you start 0-1, your chances of cutting are substantially lowered. I'll put it that way, right? The chances that you will top cut are low at 7-2, right? So you have to go 8-1, basically. So I lost round 1 versus the Mirror, right? They had slightly edited sets, I think, or EVs or whatever. Even my opponent admitted at the end of the set that this was a pretty dirty set. I beat him game 1 pretty comfortably. I just kind of out-positioned. Game 2, I missed Sleep Powder on his Yveltal. I lost. I was like, okay, you know, like, whatever. Sleep Powder misses, right? Like, when you use Sleep Powder, that's, like, part of the risk. Game 3 was something of nightmares. So, basically, to set up the scene for you guys, Their Yveltal max was totally wasted. They had a -1 Groudon on the field, and they had, I believe it was a Incineroar on the field. I'm not 100%. I'm pretty sure it was Incineroar on their end. And I have an Yveltal, I have a Venusaur, and I have an Incineroar left, I believe, on my end. If I'm not mistaken, like that, those are the Pokemon I had left. So, I'm there. I'm like, okay, this is fine. No. Sorry, I had Yveltal, I had Incin. Yeah, I actually had all 4 Pokemon left. I forgot about this. So, first off, right, my Yveltal gets crit by a Stone Edge from the opposing Groudon. So I lose my Yveltal, right? Then I Leaf Storm with Venusaur, right? And I miss, which is really bad, right? Because then my Venu just dies. Then I bring in Groudon, and I decided to Heat Crash instead of Precipice Blades, which I guess was on me, right? Because I probably should have just like Precipice Blades and like gotten like the KO and the Groudon and not missed. But like after missing like, you know, what's it called, Leaf Storm, you're kind of like, well, you know, I don't really want to miss again. So he crashed, Groudon died, and then the opposing Incineroar won it was 3 Flare Blitz Speed Ties in a row. So yeah, like basically, if you saw the turn 1 and then you saw the end game, you'd be like, how did we get here, right? Unfortunately, that's Pokemon, so like whatever. I mean, it's not my opponent's fault, you know what I mean? But I was obviously like pretty pissed, right? That is like, I think, the most tilted I've been after round 1 like ever. But anyways, like I say on this channel all the time, the game has a habit sometimes of kind of giving you luck that you don't necessarily appreciate or want. And it's kind of your job to like push through it, because in the end, like, you are in control of how you do. And that's why I think I'm really proud of this regional run, even though I lost in top 16, because it was kind of like exemplifying that, right? But yeah, so round 2, I play versus Zacian Yveltal. I just Gastro Incin with Yveltal Groudon the whole game. That core actually ended up being a really strong core that I brought to a lot of matches. It was really strong. And I ended up just beating, you know, this team pretty comfortably. So, you know, Steven did his best, but I was just able to outposition with the Incin and the Gastrodon. Then I played versus this guy. I think this was his first regional, and he played it pretty solid, I'd say. He was Scarf Lando, and like I was just kind of able to get like my Incin in an endgame position versus him with Groudon, to where I was just able to win, right? And I was just able to outposition him both games. My Max Yveltal like did a lot of work here, so it was just able to do a lot. Then round 4, I played versus Zacian Ogre with Thundurus, Venusaur, Grimmsnarl, and Incineroar. Now, this matchup, in theory, should be very 50-50, but, like, something must have flipped in me, dude. Because, like, I played this, like, this next match, the most insane I have ever played in my Pokemon career. Like, it's probably, like, top 3, like, best sets I've ever played. So, basically, versus this person, I don't know who they are, but versus this person, every single turn I got right. Like, I did not get a single turn wrong versus this team. So, like, every single time they made a play, I made the better play. And, like, after that, like, I felt so much better. Because, like, I was really salty after, like, round 1 for a little bit. But, like, after these next few rounds, like, I felt so good. And, like, yeah, they like, played their best. But, like, yeah, I just, like, got them on every single turn. I was literally just, like, calling them out. And it felt so good. Like, it's just like one of those Pokemon games where it's like, yeah, like, I know I'm good, you know what I mean? And, like, I can do it. And, like, not in, like, a cocky way, just in, like, a, yeah, like, you know, like, I can do this. Like, I can go 8-1, you know? So at this point, I'm 3-1. My resistance is pretty mid, to be honest, so I kind of know that I can't go X and 2. If I go X and 2, I'm not making cut, right? So, you know, I'm like, yeah, I gotta win, like, this next one, man, you know? So then I play versus Leonard, and now, honestly, it should probably be a tougher matchup, but it ended up playing to where, like, it was pretty easy for me, just because I was able to leverage my Venusaur properly and my Yveltal properly, and, like, Leonard never really got a free opportunity to set up in Trick Room, which just kind of let me win the game pretty comfortably, right? I never gave the Incineroar its eject button in the swap. I was able to catch the Amoonguss swapping into Calyrex. I sleep powdered into Amoonguss. Like, I was playing really good. These, like, next 4 sets. Like, I was actually, like, on fire. Like, I just got win, right? Leonard, he played his best, but, like, yeah, I was just able to win it, and, you know, just play it super well. I was pretty proud of that. Then, I play versus Andy Shepard. Now, extra context for this. This is someone I've been coaching. And guess what I specifically coached them on? The Evildon matchup. So they know how to deal with my team. Also, they know my tendencies and how I play. Granted, I probably know their tendencies and how they play, but they also know how I like to play the matchup because we practice it so much, right? So obviously this is not the preferable situation. However, right, in game one, actually, I will give Andy credit on this. He brought Zacian over Charizard, which is different than what we had practiced, and I think he specifically did that because he knew that I was gonna approach it the same way that we had normally been approaching in practice. However, in game two, because I knew he had Zacian, not Charizard, I was way more aggressive early on, and it was just super bad for him. Then game three, he finally brings the Charizard, and I just turn one Max Lightning into the Charizard, calling that he's going to keep it in Max, and he just does that turn one, and he loses it. And, like, it was still a pretty close endgame, but I ended up being able to win, like, with the Groudon Ensign in the back. So, overall, pretty close match. Andy definitely, like, played super well. I mean, I have to say, the one thing that I got from this regional, too, is a lot of the people I coached ended up doing, like, pretty decent. I think Andy ended up going 6-3. Another person I coached, his name was QuickDart VGC Online. I forgot his exact name, but he went 6-3. And then the senior I coached, two seniors I coached, got first and second, and then a junior I coached got second place. So it was just really cool to see, like, and get to play versus someone I coached, so it was a cool experience. Round 7, I play versus Austin. It was just a win-win for me. This is a really rough matchup for them, and I was just able to leverage my Yveltal properly, so it just, like, gave me a lot of edge in this matchup. Also, they were leaning on the Venusaur, so, like, I was just kind of able to take advantage of that and just win with Yveltal. And then, finally, round 8, who I play versus Colin, right? Now, this matchup was something that I had actually gone out of my way to think about and prepare for because of how difficult it was when I had the Porygon 2 version. That's actually the main reason why I added Gastrodon to this team. So thank God I added Gastro, because if I lose to Colin here, I don't think I cut the regional, right? I trusted Colin to win out, but, like, I could not afford with my resistance to lose, right? So, at this point, I was like, I need to beat Colin. And, like, after I lost game 1, like, I was just literally like, okay, like, it's fine. Like, I'm going to win these next 2. And, like, I was able to. So, Colin gave me a really good run for a game. I definitely recommend watching her game because I think it was a really solid, really solid play. There were a lot of good adjustments there. I think in, game 3, I did get a little lucky and crit his Zacian with, like, Max Quake. But honestly, like, luck is so relative in Pokemon. I was just kind of like, yeah, like, it's fine, like, I was like, bro, like, it happens to me anyways. Like, what are you gonna do, So that's something I think too, as you play the game more, you just kind of realize, like, hacks happen, so you're just kind of like, okay, whatever, and you just move on, Then finally I play versus Daniel Thorpe. Now, you might think this is good because I'm 7-1, right? However, the Pokemon universe gave me a little bit of, like, an FU because now I'm playing round 9 versus Daniel Thorpe. Now you might be like, okay, 7-2, so at least if he or 7-1, so at least if he wins, he goes 8-1. I got down paired with the only 6-2 that was gonna play a 7-1. So even though this is a good matchup for me, if for some reason I get a bit unlucky or right, I don't like play well, right? Like, I'm out, which, granted, I guess I would deserve it if I didn't play well, right? Deserve not to be in if I didn't play well. So for me, I'm like, oh crap, like, I gotta beat this guy or I'm gonna lose, and Daniel's a friend too, so it kind of extra sucked, right, that I was playing him. But, yeah, I was just straight up like, yeah, I just gotta, like, win this. So, game 1, I win pretty convincingly with Maxi Yveltal. He maxes a Scavalier immediately. I'm just able to take advantage of that. Game 2, Daniel actually saves his Kyogre for last, Calm Minds with it. I'm unable to break it late in the game, able to beat me, right? Then game 3 was super close, but I was able to leverage my Yveltal well enough where I was just able to win the game, just off of the merit of Yveltal alone. And, like, I was able to clean up the game, able to win. It was really close. Daniel definitely gave me a run for my money, but, obviously I was able to pull it out, so it was really good. Then they made us play top 16 right after. I think had I had a day of prep, I probably would have played this better versus Paul. I would even venture to say, like, there's no way I lose game 1. However, Paul played, like, insanely good in game 1. Like, so we were in an endgame scenario where it was his Zapdos, his Incin, his Kyogre, and his and, like, I had Gastro, Groudon. If I get a single turn right and hit his Zapdos, I win. And every single turn, he got it right and swapped out the slot I was thinking of hitting. Or didn't swap into Zapdos on the slot I was thinking of hitting. So to him, I give a ton of credit on game one. Game one, I absolutely lost, right? Because he just played better than me. And, like, I have no problem with that. Game two, on the other hand, was kind of a rough situation. So basically, the leads that we normally went with, I went with Groudon, Regieleki, and he went with Zapdos and Ensign, right? And he goes for a Max Flare, and he goes for a Flare Blitz. Now, I call this, and I go for a Max Lightning into his Instant, and I go for a Stone Edge. So I Max Lightning his Instant, get it down to yellow, it's in range of Stone Edge, and then he flares me, does like 70% to my Lucky, and then I Stone Edge back, and I miss. And so what that means is he just Flare Blitzes my Lucky. My Lucky dies. My regional run essentially just died right there, right? Like, I would have loved to play that game out because I think it would have actually been, like, pretty competitive, and it would have been really close, but, you know, you can't control that sometimes. So I was just like, yeah, what am I gonna do? And, like, since after that, I was playing a losing battle, right? Like, I tried to play just to, like, stay in it, but, yeah, that was just too much, right? But yeah, I mean, overall, am I disappointed with how it ended? 100%. Am I proud of how I was able to turn something that was so bad at a 0-1 to 8-1 and practicing what I preach in terms of, like, regardless of the losses you take, you can always bring it back and win? Absolutely, right? And I think it speaks a lot to how important having a strong mentality is in the tournament. And losing the Paul, if anything, only motivates me more to, like, keep playing. Because, like, game one, I did get outplayed. Like, I want to play better than that. You know what I mean? Like, I want to outplay every single one of my opponents, regardless of who they are, you know? So that only motivates me to work harder, Pokemon-wise. But, yeah, I mean, overall, you know, was a pretty good regional event. I had a lot of fun with this, and obviously I would have liked to win, but, you know, that's for next time. So gonna keep working hard, you know, doing my best. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video and this recap, and let me know in the comments, like, what kind of videos you'd like to see next. I'm probably gonna be doing a meta review going over all the events that I have not gotten the review yet on this channel. So that'll probably be the next video you guys can expect to see from me. Once again, guys, thank you so much for all the support. If you guys would like to improve your own skills, check out coaching. Make sure to do that in the link down below. Make sure to support on Patreon. And, yeah, thank you guys so much for supporting the videos. See you guys on the next one. Peace.